So what is this tutorial about? Why are we here? What are we doing this for? The idea here is you take a specification from somebody, your boss, uh, client, mm, scientist, doctors, clinicians. And they say, I want some data to do this thing. And then your job is to make the data do that thing. And oftentimes your job is to report, is to just say, what does the data say about this thing? And you get data in a certain format, and maybe you know it really well. Maybe it's your favorite data set. Maybe it's a data set you've never seen before, and you've got to figure it out first. And that's your job. That's what you're good at, is to take a data set and make it, understand it, and then answer the question that's been put to you. So the workbook exercise is a simple question. Tell me about inguinal hernia uh, in this time period, who are 60 years of age or older and have surgery performed during the admission. So sounds like a reasonable request. Um, and we also want to know the number of episodes of care and the details of patient length of stay for each procedure performed, with and without complications. So we need to know information about procedures, about diagnoses. We need to know information about complications. Um, when there is complications, the type of complication that occurred, and the ratio of each complication type for each procedure. So people are asking quite a bit from you there. So we got to break it down. What is we looking for? Oh, and the other thing is we've got a data set. So we already had to look at the data set. We looked at the data set. It's got this DS1, DS6 procedures, diagnosis. What data? What bits of this data is going to answer that question? Which table is the data coming from? Where what slices of the table? What columns and rows have that data? What are we going to do? So the first thing is you got to plan. You say, where am I going to get this data from? So let's break it down. We need cases with inguinal hernia. So first thing is, which table has information about inguinal hernia? So does the diagnosis table have information about inguinal hernia? Let's type in ING UINL. Okay, we've got some inguinal hernias there. It looks like from K4000 to K491. Anything that starts with K40, it looks like are the inguinal hernias. So that was good. That found the inguinal hernia. We found out that they're diagnoses and they have these codes. So that isn't. But does that tell us the patients that had inguinal hernia? Is there information about patients in this table? No, this is just a table that has codes and descriptions. Okay, so where's the patients that have this information? So the procedures table, does that have any information about patients? No, each line is one single procedure. No patients there whatsoever. DS6, does that have patients? Is any of these patients? Well, they do look like they're patients. They've got a length of stay, they've got a gender, they've got these things ANDR, ANDRG, V8, VIC, DRG, some age groups. So age group, same day, public or private, that makes sense. That's what type of person it is. But these things. So does that tell us about inguinal hernia? Do we have any K4000 there? So let's look for K40. Okay, so it's K40Z. Is that the same as the diagnosis table, those ones? No, K4000. K4. So I'm not sure that that's, and we have no K4000. No K401. Great. So that doesn't look like a ICD-10 code. ICD-10 codes start with a letter, have numbers, but they don't have an end letter. These look like DRG codes. So that's not codes. So all we've got left is DS1. So does DS1 talk about patients? Yes, each there's length of stay, female, so each line is a single patient. Does it have a K4000? Ah, it does. K4000. There's somebody. This person there has had an inguinal hernia. It wasn't their principal diagnosis. It was their something that happened along the way. Um, Tough. So, but that's a little exploration. Cases that had inguinal hernia. So that we found what table they're in. We found what column they're in. Let's keep looking a bit farther and see if we can find another K4000. Oh, so it's both in TDIAG1 and TDIAG6. So it looks like the K4000s are spread out across all the TDIAG codes, which is somewhat painful, and we'll fix that up in the next assignment when we do make a better database. But right now we've got a unnormalized database. The data is all in one line, and kind of bad that way, but we'll get over it. Yeah, so it's the data is somewhere in TDIAG1 to TDIAG25, and cases that were admitted during 0001. So this doesn't say anything about when the data is. It doesn't say there's nothing there that talks about the data. So for this, we don't know. We don't know, and so we have to go ask Dennis Willersheim, the CEO, the guy who gave you the data, and say, hey, where is this data from? Where is this DS1 table from? Is that cases from 00 to 01? And so I will put on my other hat. I will be the CEO, and I'll say, yes, that data is from 00 to 01, 20 years ago, this year. Old-fashioned data. But still, they had codes back then to youngsters. Only cases where patient age is 60 years of age and over. So how old are these people? How old is this M, this F? Let's go. I seem to remember that there was a column that talked about age group. And it has some ages in there. Let's see what age groups exist. 60 to 64, 65 to 69, 74, 75, 80, 85 plus. So all of those people are above 60. Great. We have found cases where the patient age is 60 years old. So these two criteria, we don't have to do anything about them because that is the data we've got. But we can imagine that was the other thing. Cases where surgery was performed. Well, how do we know if surgery was performed? How do we know? Well, where is the information about operations? Well, procedures. There it is. This TOPR one. So that if there's a code there, something happened. I think that's what we're going to say. So that's the criteria. We need to have people that have a K4000 somewhere in there. They need to have an operation there. And the next bit is we need to say the complications, whether they had complications or not, and that's another criterion here that we'll look at later. You read it, it's clear, but oftentimes you have to go into it to figure out. So do the same thing for the assignment. Go into your assignment and decide. Look at the assignment and try to figure out what data you need for that. What rows, what columns. I'll do that in the next video.